Welcome to Reshair on ESPN 730. For the next hour, your host, Chris Reshair, will bring fresh air to your financial needs. Excite, educate, and empower you to make sound financial decisions. Chris is a seasoned licensed mortgage consultant with NFM Lending. Originator license number 117266. Now, here's your host, Chris Reshair.
Good morning, Charlotte. Chris Reshair back here for another round of Reshair Radio. If you've never listened to our show, it's really all about educating, exciting, and empowering Charlotteans to make sound financial decisions. And we do that not just by listening to me every week. Actually, you probably hear more from people in the studio than you actually hear from me, but really more about and bringing in expert contributors and local area guests that talk about real estate, finance, financial planning, homeowners insurance, anything sort of generally financial. We try to bring those special experts and et cetera into the studio to educate you each and every week. You can tell we're live because I step over myself every once in a while in the studio. But nonetheless, I'd like to go ahead and introduce our guests for the week. First we have up is expert contributor Adam Kunda with National Credit Care. He'll actually be on our fourth segment later on the show. Adam is a show sponsor. He's been sponsoring the show for a couple of years here at Reshair Radio, and he is the credit repair guru, expert, you name it, extraordinaire. So he'll have some great credit tips for us in our later segment. So if you've got credit maybe that may need some repair, maybe you've got a low 500 credit score and you're just not sure what to do, how to get it up, and it's been the same for several years in and out, Adam and his team over at National Credit Care can absolutely help you, and we'll make sure that you have a way to get a hold of him after our show. And then we've got another guest here, special guest Mike Modia with Modia Real Estate Group. Mike, welcome to Reshair Radio.
Great. Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate being here.
You excited to be here this Sunday morning, looking at the stadium, hanging out?
It's a beautiful view here. I love it. Things looking really great. I'm really fortunate to be here. Thank you so much. Right now I'm getting to look at the Panther Stadium. Looks beautiful from here. Clear blue skies. Really fortunate, really, to have the opportunity to share my story and hopefully give you a little insight today on what's going on in the market.
Perfect. Well, that's why we have you in the studio, because while I am a mortgage professional, I am not a real estate expert. So, Mike, I've got, a lot of questions that I typically ask our listeners, our guests, so that our listeners can know a little bit about you. And first of all, why don't you tell us, I know that you've been in real estate 14 years, you're licensed North Carolina, South Carolina, and you also have a team, is that right?
Yes. No, I have a team. I have two agents with me, Anthony Caldas and Japhis Dent. It's great to have them two on my team. Been in real estate for 14 years and looking for more. If you want to join a growing team and interested in empowering yourself with the knowledge and the opportunity to grow wealth in real estate, please definitely seek us out. Modia Real Estate Group. And if you want to reach us out to at 704-774-8444. I recommend 704-774-8444.
And Mike, you said Modia Real Estate Group. What is the website there in case somebody's listening might want to connect with you?
Yeah, it's a very simple website. It's homewithmike.com. Very
Sweet.
simple.
Nice domain. That's like the Mortgage Genius. That's mine.
Oh, that's yours? I love that one.
Yeah, themortgagegenius.com. So, all right. So we've got 14 years in the business. I understand. And you do work at Giving Tree Realty right now.
Yes.
But why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about how you got started in real estate? Because if you remember kind of going through those career building classes, there isn't really anyone that raises their hand in 9th grade that says, I want to be a realtor, right? Have you ever seen anybody say, I want to be a realtor 8th or 9th or 10th or 11th grade? I mean, it just doesn't happen.
No, it does not happen. And it's a funny story is because it's actually interesting. I had my uncle, he still currently is an appraisal in South Florida. And then I had a brother who was in the mortgage loan business, just like you. So I grew up, with a family-related business. I always had, real estate around me. I remember when I was helping out my uncle, passing out flyers door to door for his business. It's been a
wow, that's cool.
Yeah, and then I go.
He was just trying to drum up appraisal business.
Yeah, appraisal business and get his name out there because I'm assuming back then I was very young. But I'm assuming back then they had issues with appraisals and refinancing, and since the Florida South market has been booming, I'm assuming that's why. But I remember those flyers, and I remember one time that I saw myself doing that, and then I saw my brother in the mortgage business as well too, doing that as well. And I always said to myself, that's pretty interesting. I actually, at 15, it's funny you said that. I actually thought to myself, I wanted to get in real estate. So ever since
So
then,
you kind of had
Yeah.
an early itch to get in the
yeah,
business.
and it's just because I just liked.
You proved me wrong.
Yeah. I just like. That's why it's funny you said that. So I really like. I always like being a solution solver. That's really my main thing. I really like that. So
You were thinking about that at a young age, but how did it get to this point?
yeah. So I was going.
Take me back.
Yeah, take you back. So I moved here to Charlotte from Miami, Florida, in 2001, right after the whole 9/11 thing. I was actually going to school at Braddock Senior High School back in '99, South Florida, and I was actually going to George T. Baker Aviation School. And I actually was becoming
Okay.
an aircraft maintenance technician. I actually got fully licensed and everything. And unfortunately, 9/11 happened, and that career took a pause. So my older brother.
There was less flying after 9/11.
Yeah, I remember a couple airlines went out of business, all that good stuff. Yeah, so really tough time, especially being a newbie in the field. Nobody was really gonna, take me on. So I went ahead and, was searching, seeing what's going out there. And then my brother asked me to come up here to North Carolina, and which I did. And then I stayed here, and then I fell in love with the city. And while I was going to Central Piedmont Community College, putting myself through school and working at a Radio Shack, I actually saw a flyer, a bulletin board at when they did that. I don't know if they do that now, but they used to have a bulletin board with different flyers and classes going on. Then I saw a course for real estate, and I actually took that course, and then I didn't do so well. I actually didn't pass the test the first time. So actually,
It's a hard test.
Yeah, it really.
I mean, like, people think real estate is easy, and it's really nothing but easy.
I was
It's-
21 at the time, so imagine me taking that test. So,
Yeah, I took the class and took the test. I did pass it, but I had to study really hard. It was not an easy test.
Yeah.
The mortgage licensing test is a lot easier than getting the real estate test.
And that was then, and I was very fortunate that at that time, I was still working at another job. I was actually at a Radio Shack, and I was actually assistant manager at the Radio Shack in South Boulevard for a while. And I remember my first broker, who I worked with, came into the store, and his name was Jim Vincelli. I believe he passed. It's been a long time. And then he actually talked to me, and he was telling me about real estate. I'm like, that's a funny story. I'm actually going for real estate right now, and I'm going. I did the class and I didn't pass, so then he encouraged me to really go back and do it at Mingle Real Estate, in which I did, and then I actually passed the test.
So you run into this guy at the counter at Radio Shack,
Yes.
right? And he says, you need to think about real estate, and here you are saying, I've already taken the class, but I need help kind of passing the test. And somehow you two connect at the Radio Shack, and then eventually you go to work for this guy?
Yeah, and the funny thing is, he was coming in for like a cell phone battery replacement, and then he walked out with 2 cell phones, all the accessories, the kit and caboodle. And I didn't sell him or anything, but it's something that he really, really needed. I saw a solution for him that he really needed for him and his assistant. And at that time, folks were not really getting into cell phones and not how important it was to have an actual good signal, because that one call could be that one big sale.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you really want to have a good cell phone service no matter what. And then, I started, he gave me a business card. I kept it. I passed the test, and I called him, and I actually met up with him, and I worked with him and his team. And then I was there with them for 3 years, and I was Rookie of the Year in that firm that first year.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so it was a very fun time in real estate, and that was back in 2004 era.
2004.
Yeah, 2004.
Oh, the good old
2005,
days,
the
right?
good old days.
Before the big crash.
Yes.
Those were some good times.
Yes,
So,
yes.
Well, interesting story. So what do you like most, before we sort of run into the end of this segment? What do you like most about real estate? What do you like about doing it?
Well, really, what I really, really like most now, I mean, of course, my mottos my models have changed since I started. But now it's really becoming a solution solver, for folks from the beginning to end, like really helping out, like in ways that most traditional, companies or agents cannot. And that's what I really, really, strive myself to do.
And give me an example of what that looks like for our listener.
Like, for example, like right now I'm really into, if you should leave the home how it is or fix it, remodel it, renovate it for a bigger sale. So like either leave it or fix it up kind of thing.
Which will be our theme later as we roll that out.
That's what I'm really into now. I work with contractors really close to me. I have engineers that since I've been in the business for such a long time, they actually purchase homes from me too. So a lot of the folks that work with me actually bought homes from me. So in the last 14, 15 years, I have collected all these great network resources, and they see what I'm about. So
you're trying to connect a potential buyer or seller with those resources, and that's how you solve problems.
Yeah, and that's very important because I can't tell you how many folks overpay for a listing or underprice their listing just because they don't do just a few things because they're just thinking, it's a seller's market or anybody's going to buy it or the buyer just falls in love with it just because it looks nice.
Sure.
So that's really, I really would like to solve that problem for a lot of folks to get past that, to either, let's invest the money or not invest the money. Let's purchase that way how it is, or let's try to find something else that's a little better condition. Really, really, offset everything. I really like to do that and show folks really what is the best approach to, for their goal of real estate. That's really my thing.
Perfect. So Mike, just so that our listeners, if there's anything along the way here that you listen to on Reshair Radio as we roll into our theme here at our next segment, that you need Mike's advice when it comes to real estate, whether it's buying or selling, he would be happy to help you. Mike, what's your number one more time?
It's 704-774-8444.
And if you need my assistance when it comes to mortgage, because even though I host the show and I'm a mortgage guy, we don't really talk about mortgage that much on the show.
Really?
But of course, if there's anyone out there that needs to get taken care of when it comes to getting pre-approved to purchase a home, my number is 704-277-4463. That's 704-277-4463. So again, you're listening to Chris Reshatar, host of Reshair Radio, with NFM Lending, and we have so much more to talk about here with Mike Modia from Modia Real Estate Group. So please stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hi, this is Chris Reshatar, host of Reshair Radio and loan officer with NFM Lending. Is home buying in your future? Buying a home is one of the most significant financial decisions you will make in your life. Each step in the process is important to ensure a smooth transaction. But the most important step, even before you look at houses or call a realtor, is to get pre-approved. A pre-approval is when a lender evaluates a loan applicant's eligibility for a home loan. The loan officer collects information such as their employment, income, assets, and current expenses. The lender then gives the applicant an idea as to whether or not they could afford a home loan or an approximate amount of loan they could qualify for. If you're looking for platinum level service and open communication through the loan process, call me, Chris Reshatar, at 704-277-4463. That is 704-277-4463. LO license number 117266, corporate license number 2893. Go to nfmlending.com for licensing information, or you can apply online today at themortgagegenius.com. Welcome back to Reshair Radio. I'm your show host, Chris Reshatar, licensed loan officer with NFM Lending. NFM Lending is an equal housing lender. My license number is 117266. Always got to get that in there. If you're just tuning in to Reshair Radio, we're on every Sunday morning here on ESPN The Game at 10 a.m. We're talking about ways to improve your life from a financial perspective, whether it's real estate, mortgage, finance, insurance, financial planning. We bring lots of topics, area experts, and special guests. And we've got here in the studio this morning Mike Modia from Modia Real Estate Group. Mike, welcome back.
Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me here.
Absolutely.
And again, I'm Mike Modia with Modia Real Estate. If you ever want to get in contact with me, please connect with me at 704-774-8444 or my website at homewithmike.com.
Simple, homewithmike.com. We like that. So, all right. So, folks, if you weren't listening to our previous segment, if you just tuned in, we just sort of did an intro with Mike, how you got in the business and all that jazz, what you like about real estate. You've got 14 years experience licensed North and South Carolina. You've got yourself a pretty big team. But you had mentioned that one of the things that you like is being a problem solver and really helping people through the transaction. But what I'm really kind of interested in now is as we air the show throughout the Charlotte metro market, what's your perspective on the housing market right here in 2018 in Charlotte?
Well, of course, everybody hears the housing market's doing really well, but it's really depends on the price range. I would say on the home, the price range, and of course location. Some price ranges in homes that once you put them on the market, you get multiple offers just because that pricing affordability has gone up through the roof. Actually, about 3 years ago, our average sales price was around $160 for a home. Today, we're at $230, $240.
Yeah, no, the average cost of the home has definitely gone up pretty considerably.
Interest rates too, and your actual tax rates have gone up too as well too. So that all together, it's creating a big problem for affordable housing here in our area.
And what a lot of people don't know, Mike, is that if you look back at statistics, if you go back to the early 80s, what began to happen was there was a small baby boom from 82 all the way up to 1990, where successively each year there were more baby births. And what's happening is those buyers today are now millennials, okay, the millennial buyer population, and they're buying in their very early 30s. And so that population, if you do the math, they're all starting to buy today, okay? And so what's happening now is that we see not just a shortage of housing, but we have an increase in that millennial population that's actually starting to buy. Yeah. So we have more demand and less inventory. So I think that first-time buyer sector, which I really just self-classify in that $300,000 range or under, because a lot of these buyers, because they're buying later, can afford a much bigger home or a more expensive home maybe than what we think of as that traditional first-time buyer who's 23 years old that just got married. Most people are now buying in their early 30s, right? So they have careers that have been established, retirement accounts, savings, etc. So that first-time buyer demographic definitely has changed a little bit over the last 10 to 20 years as well. So definitely in what I would call a seller's market, really in that sector for sure. But you mentioned something about in the higher price point, maybe there's not quite as much demand.
Yeah, it just depends on the actual area where the actual home is located, and what is going on with that area. If it's closer to the city, I would say in areas like Midwood, Dilworth, we're not really going to have a problem. But if it's further away from the city, I would say there's definitely a lot more housing available in the 500 plus price range.
Got it. Cool. Well, that kind of gives us a general idea of the housing market, but definitely still a seller's market. Buyers can still buy, but you need to be more prepared than maybe you were in the past. So, well, Mike, I'm really excited about our theme today because I've been doing the show for about 3 years now. I've never really had a realtor partner bring the theme that we're going to go through. And that's really just if you already own a home and you're thinking about selling your home here over the next 6 to 12 months, this show is for you. It's not about whether you're selling your home next month. This is really a process that sellers should plan for. But if you're thinking about selling your home, the real question is do you invest money to fix the house up, spruce it up, or maybe even modernize it? Or do you leave it as is? And I really like that because you have 4 key areas in addition to some sub areas to think about that anyone that owns a home should be paying attention to as we go through this today. So if, again, you're thinking about selling your home in the next 6 to 12 months, this show is for you. We want you to listen because Mike's got some really great counsel for you. So the theme is fix it or leave it as is. That's the big question when you're thinking about selling your home. So Mike, you say number 1, what's one key area we need to be thinking about?
Definitely is location.
Which is really
location,
right?
Yes.
It's 3 in 1.
3 in 1.
So what do you mean about that? I mean, I think we all know that, people say the number one important thing in real estate is the location, but why is location, how can the location determine whether or not you should fix something or leave it as is?
Just because doesn't matter what you do to it. You're going to have a real big issue with trying to resell it later down the road, and to try to get that money back or make a profit on something when the location is extremely hard for the buyer to get over. You're just throwing your money away.
And I think we came up with an example. If you have a home in the Midwood area of Charlotte, that's an area of Charlotte where there's a lot of regentrification, there's a lot of renovating going on, and we see home values escalating pretty high. There are still some homes that are lower on the scale that maybe aren't fixed up. You take that same home and you transplant it to a community that maybe backs to the Charlotte Douglas International Airport. That home might be home that if you were to say, should I fix it, Mike, or should I leave it as is, you might make a different recommendation. Say, maybe since this area isn't maybe going through revitalization and we're not seeing a lot of renovation, maybe you leave it, right?
Exactly.
And these are just examples we pull from the air, so this is not a dig on any particular area of Charlotte.
No.
We love Charlotte.
Charlotte all around.
But we have to really look at what's happening.
I actually bought a home close to the airport area, which I did actually renovate.
Okay.
But I renovated it in a way to actually get it back to a livable condition.
But it wasn't macking it out like you see on HGTV.
Yes, exactly. Color choices, we did some great color choices, would give it that appearance. But the cost of it was just to get it back to getting it to livable condition.
Whereas maybe in another area that's a little hotter, you might take something and really upgrade it with quartz and this and that.
Yes, sir. So if it's something in the Midwood area, you want to make it probably energy efficient. You probably want to make it, very pleasable for what's going on with that style of home. Really get a designer in there and actually put some effort into staging and really make it worthwhile. Because staging in that price range and actually, getting it fixed up and doing some remodelization, some addition. If you actually do an addition around, I don't know, a 10 by 20 should cost you around maybe $15,000, that you would definitely see that return.
That would come back.
Yes, of course, definitely. So it just really depends on how much you want to put into it and see the reward coming out. And the location, it's ideal for that reason.
Sweet. All right. So you're saying really whether we decide to fix it or leave it, the location is key. And Mike can help you by coming out and doing an evaluation for you to determine whether the location of the house that you want to sell in the future makes sense as to whether we just spruce it up with some fresh paint or we actually go full bore with the renovations. So,
I also have, going back to that, I have the contractors as well. So the folks that I work with.
Which we will be talking a little bit about later, right?
Definitely.
Perfect. All right. So key number area 2, you say, is price range. Oftentimes the lower price point may not warrant a full reno.
You got it. So just because the demand, like we've talked about from the beginning, it's just so high right now at the lower price range. Just cleaning the home, having it cleaned, usually will just be enough for the home to sell.
Because there's high demand for that lower price range.
Extremely high demand. If you want to try to sell it quicker, guarantee a higher list price compared to the comparables, because you still have to go off the comparables. You could go off a little bit off that, a little higher, but you want to clean it up. I see some folks don't clean it up and they just literally leave it as is, like it's destroyed, and it's not habitable. That does not work. That you need to make it in a livable condition. For a valid of many reasons, like loans won't get through if it's not in a habitable condition.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. You got to be able to. The buyer's got to be able to move in.
Yeah.
And put their furniture in, turn on the power, get some fresh water from the spigot.
Yeah.
Exactly,
right. Exactly. So having a clean home, a working home, will guarantee you and spruced up a little bit, will guarantee you a good sale on the home. Doing the opposite, you will get offers, but you'll get investor offers, and you'll get offers at a much lower list price than what you expect.
Right. So really, at the end of the day, outside of location, you got to be thinking about the price range as to whether or not fixing it or leaving it as is really the decision. In that case, as always, they can get a hold of you if they need any assistance. And just so that if you need to talk to Mike after the show, you can always text me or call me and say, I need Mike. My cell number is 704-277-4463. That's 704-277-4463. And if you have any mortgage needs throughout the process to get qualified, you can find me at themortgagegenius.com. So Mike, we're going to take a quick break right here. I do want to let our listeners know, because this is a show that you will probably use again to air out, whether it's social media or on your website. But if anybody wants to listen to the show in its entirety, my last name is Reshatar, which is spelled Reshetar. Why is that important? Because the show is Reshair Radio. So you can find the show in its entirety on Reshair Radio. That's RESH, airradio.com. So please stay tuned. We've got way more to talk about, whether you fix it or leave it as is. We're here again with Mike Modia from the Modia Real Estate Group. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hi, Chris Reshatar here with NFM Lending and host of Reshair Radio. If you are considering purchasing a home, you may wonder what your financing options are. We offer a variety of loan products to fit your situation, including conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, and jumbo loans. Here in the Carolinas, some of the most common loans are FHA and USDA. FHA loans are popular in low-income and first-time buyers due to their less stringent requirements. They also have low down payment requirements and tend to have a lower credit score requirement as well. USDA loans also allow low and moderate income households to purchase homes in an eligible rural area. Home buyers who do not qualify for a conventional loan may be able to purchase a home with USDA. If you're looking for platinum level service and open communication throughout the process, call me, Chris Reshatar, at 704-277-4463. That is 704-277-4463. LO NMLS license number 117266. Corporate NMLS license number 2893. Go to nfmlending.com for licensing information, and you can apply online at themortgagegenius.com. Welcome back to Reshair Radio. I'm your show host, Chris Reshatar, licensed loan officer with NFM Lending, and we're here with Mike Modia from Modia Real Estate Group at Giving Tree, and we've been talking a little bit about whether you should fix things or leave it as is if you're thinking about selling your home. That's the big question. Should you fix it or sell it as is? So, Mike, we went through location, we went through price range. You say number 3 is to consider timeline for selling. Why would that make a difference as to whether or not you should fix the house or sell it?
Well, just because you really want to try to get it close to April as much as possible. April, May is usually our one of our highest peak seasons.
Okay.
And that's really a good.
So depending on the time of year and the timing of when you want to sell, may determine whether or not you should fix it.
Yeah. And depending on your current situation. You know, some folks are like, well, I have to leave by November and I want to maximize the profit and I want to renovate it like this and that. And that's something that you got to be very careful on, because we're going to have a lot less buyers during the December time frame area.
The winter season generally is going to be slower. Okay, so timely may affect that.
Timely will affect that.
All right, and then the fourth key is really cost, which is really, we have a lot to talk about here in terms of cost. What are some of the components you believe our listeners should consider, whether fixing / renovating it or just selling the home as is, when they go to list their home with you, Mike?
Well, the first thing is I want to analyze what the home needs and compare it to the comps in the neighborhood. That, to me, that's the most ideal thing to do, because if you start, again, putting money into the home, thinking that for every dollar you put into it, you're going to see $2 out of it, you can make a very, very big error. Because if the homes and the comparables are actually, even though that you see others that are selling and they have actually fixed them up, and maybe they didn't do a good color choice or something that could have deteriorated that, you got to be really careful, because some folks fall in love with a certain color and they get emotional in their remodeling because they still think it's their home, and that's very important.
Right. Really, what you're trying to do is remodel your home for somebody else to appeal to the masses.
Somebody else. Yeah, it's very important. So with the comparables in the neighborhood, see what's going on. We can see what the home needs versus what.
And that's pretty easy for you, Mike. I mean, don't you just go into MLS and find out, okay, where are the highest sales in the neighborhood? What are the low sales? What have they done? You can see remarks, and it'll say things like,
history,
this customer just
pictures,
renovated their kitchen, all new cabinets and new appliances, and so you'll know. But if there's 6 homes that have sold in the last 6 months and nobody has done any renovating, then why would you renovate?
Well, then there may be, just depending on if there's nothing that's been renovated in the last 6 months, and then there is, seeing that there's no other homes available in the area, and then you see another home that's like 3 miles, 2 miles away, that you can't use it as a comparable, but you could see your house looking like that, and then you see the actual home price higher than yours, that would tell you that there's a great chance that because there's such a demand and our market's always changing and we, the people, are our market, there's a good chance that your home could be one of those homes that if you do renovate it, you will see $2 for every dollar you put into it, just because there's nothing else like it and nothing else has been done like it. So if the demand is good in the neighborhood.
Yeah, that could pose some problems with the appraisal, but I totally get it. So, but you need to definitely understand the difference also, which I see as another key bullet here we want to mention, is the difference between repairing something and renovating something.
Exactly.
And I see people say, well, I just put an all new roof on the house and I just repainted everything. And, that's repairing your home.
Yeah, that's not
just maintaining
That's
it.
not a renovation. That's just repairing your home.
So what is the difference?
The difference is a renovation is something that the home doesn't need. That's an extra. It's an upgrade feature, an upgrade, something of desirable interest.
So I always tell people, take in like a vinyl floor in your kitchen and putting down tile or wood.
Yeah.
That's a renovate. That's where you're renovating something and upgrading it.
Yeah, or I'll just say changing the flooring, because again, depending on the area, you choose a type of material.
Right.
So it just depends on what area. So just upgrading the flooring that from what it has of an older style, like something that's not current now, that would be something that it would be something considered as a renovation. A repair would be like if it has a hole and it's just the subfloor is destroyed, then you are repairing that. But then you can get a 2-in-1 in there now. Since you're repairing it, now you could do an upgraded feature floor,
bring the floor quality up.
Yeah, but you have to be careful again if that's going to be needed in that neighborhood.
Right. Are the other neighborhoods doing it, or are you over improving?
Exactly. And you got to be kind of careful with that as well. And then and it could go both ways.
Yep. Perfect. All right. The next bullet you want to mention under cost is that the materials count. What do you mean by where you get the materials count?
Definitely. Not to put the big box stores down, but sometimes they're overpriced and you could get them from more mom and pop, places, distributors, local areas. And I give power to them because sometimes their prices are just so much better. And that makes a huge difference, because if you're able to save anywhere from 15 to 30% on your material costs from shopping at several other areas, not just one location because it's convenient, that can make a huge difference on your return, because materials can be the most expensive part of the whole project. Just depends. Sometimes, sometimes no, labor is more.
Sometimes labor, right.
Sometimes labor, but just depends.
But the point is you got to pay attention to not just who's doing the work, but where you're getting the materials.
That's
based on your 14 plus years of experience, I'm guessing that you've got some ideas of some local people.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
And some connections.
I have definitely some good places to look at, some great ideas, and some places that you wouldn't even think of to actually find some good material, and then they'll be priced extremely well as
Sweet.
well. So.
Awesome. All right, the next bullet, in fact, I think I might just jump in and just say, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to Chris Reshair. I'm your show host of Reshair Radio. We've got Mike Modia here from Modia Real Estate Group, and we're really talking about whether you should fix the house that you're thinking about selling or leave it as is in this competitive selling market. And we're really highlighting different costs that come into play if you're thinking about fixing. We've already talked about, looking at comps in your neighborhood. We've already talked about understanding the difference between just doing a repair versus renovating. And we've just been really kind of hitting on materials count. Well, the next item that you said that our listeners should consider is who does the work matters. So who you hire, right?
Yes. I have a key eye for detail. So when I'm showing a house to a buyer, I could see the quality of craftsmanship. And then that I can't tell you how many times it could deteriorate the buyer/agent looking at the interest for the buyer, because if the quality of the work is bad, we can only wonder what else is bad with the home. So whoever does the work is very, very important. You want to make sure the work is done almost perfect, just because if you're spending the money, having the home renovated, all that time, all that effort, all those eggs in that basket, the last thing you want is for the workmanship not to be of quality. And I've seen that happen several times.
Got it. All right, and let's roll to the next one, which is what you choose to do is critical. So lean on Mike. So if you're thinking about selling your home and you're trying to decide, should I completely renovate my bathrooms in my home? That's where you're going to be the expert to come in and say, hey, here's what you should do or shouldn't do because you don't want to overspend, right? So how do you determine that?
Correct. And right now I have a perfect example. I have a current listing that we just got it under contract actually a few hours ago before coming into the show.
Okay.
And
cool. You work weekends.
Yes. Work weekends. We work very hard. So it's been great experience, with this market.
So
right?
what was the situation?
Yeah, so the situation was, there was 3 homes in the Highland Creek area, and then they were actually on the same street, and then they have not sold, and then I was getting the listing, another listing, so I was going to be number four within walking distance of all each other. One was priced in the higher 3, one was priced in mid 3, one was priced in the lower in the high 2s, and then they look pretty good. They all look pretty the same. I noticed that the higher price home put upgrades into the home. It looked really nice.
Okay.
But it's been sitting there for a while. So I went to go look at the upgrades, what they did. They upgraded the countertops. They upgraded the flooring. They upgraded the bathrooms like you did and all that good stuff. So I noticed that the reason why they were asking so much is because of the upgrades they did.
Okay.
They looked good. I mean, the color choice was good, but it was something that I think it was too much more with one person's style. I saw something that it was not neutral, kind of neutral.
Okay.
So I took that. So I told my seller, we need to do something about the home, because the home that I was dealing with, it had renters in there before, and then it wasn't.
It needed some help.
It needed a little bit of help. It wasn't like
Okay.
the renters were good. I mean, they didn't destroy the place or anything like that. But it's just that they had a dog, and it just didn't feel right. And then it was previously listed before, and the seller had no luck and he was trying to price it at a much lower price range. And then I can't tell you the exact price range now because we are actually under contract. But what I can tell you is the seller's extremely happy that we actually made the actual recommendations that I did with the flooring, with the cabinetry, with the countertops, with the lighting, not touching the bathrooms.
Okay.
We didn't touch the bathrooms. We
You
just
focused on the kitchen.
Yes.
Okay.
We painted, and we actually just we turned some light fixtures around, because when they're pointed down, I always have them point them up.
Okay.
Seeing the light, and just painting it and changing the mirror. Something we did a couple very minimal. Within, well, I don't know, a day or two, we had multiple offers, and we did everything. And our total cost of renovations was $13,840, and we were able to do the cabinets, the flooring, the carpet, the paint, and we did some light fixture changes, and we just brought it very modern, very clean, very modern. We did some a little bit of crown molding in the mantle area, and then we painted it all white. And then it
sounds great.
Yeah.
And that did the trick. So
Yeah.
basically, going back to your point, is that what you choose to do is critical, and you're the expert, Mike. You're the realtor that's going to come in and help, whether it's the location, the price range, the timeline for selling, or the cost, which are the 4 key areas that you mentioned today in terms of whether or not you should fix your home or leave it as is. Those are the areas that you're going to come in and step in and add value to that listing client that wants to sell for the right price, the max dollars. You're going to help them through these steps.
Yes, and they know where to reach me at 704-774-8444 or at homewithmike.com.
Sweet. So, Mike, I'm really excited to have had you on the show today. It's been great having you as one of our special guests. For our listeners who are here each and every week, we thank you for listening to Reshair Radio. I'm your show host each and every week. If you need to reach me for any purposes, I'm getting qualified. An application can be completed online at themortgagegenius.com, or you can find me at 704-277-4463. But stay tuned. We've got one more quick segment with Adam Kunda with National Credit Care. We'll be giving you some great credit tips on how to improve your credit. So if you have less than perfect credit, the next segment is all for you. So thank you very much for listening. We'll be back here for the next segment. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Did you know it has been reported that an estimated 80% of Americans have credit inaccuracies on their credit reports? Most people that have either inaccuracies or existing items that can be negotiated or adjusted do not know what their best score could be until they have found a new home, or buying a new car, or applying for a credit card. Then it's too late, and they have to accept a higher interest rate or lose the opportunity altogether. The time to work on improving your credit score is before you need it. Whether you have a 440, 640, or even a 740 FICO score, there is always room for improvement. The National Credit Care Team is comprised of individuals dedicated to helping the millions of consumers plagued by credit inaccuracies, errors, and fraud. It is our mission to help inform consumers and alleviate the stress of working with creditors and credit bureaus. Together, we can maximize your scores to get the best interest rates possible and save you money. Call now, 303-747-6390. That's 303-747-6390. Or visit us at www.nationalcreditcare.com.
Hi, this is Preston Salen with Home Inspection Carolina. We do home inspections, termite inspections, radon testing, any of your inspection needs. One thing that we do a little different, we fix the small stuff instead of putting it on the report. So if you need a home inspection, termite inspection, radon testing, please give us a call. If it's a home inspection or a pre-inspection, 704-542-6575, or check out our website at homeinspectioncarolina.com.
Welcome to Reshair Radio. I'm your show host, Chris Reshatar, licensed loan officer with NFM Lending. License number 117266, and we're back here in the studio. You've heard some of our earlier segments. Now I'd like to actually highlight one of our expert contributors, Adam Kunda.
Hey, good morning.
Kunda. I keep saying that wrong. You don't even correct me ever.
Well,
Kunda.
my mom and dad say Kunda. I say Kunda.
Okay, so your whole family says it different.
Everybody's right.
Everybody's right? Okay,
Everybody's
cool.
right today.
So with National Credit Care, he's back in the studio. I like to say he's a repeat offender. But as always, Adam, we've had you on the show. Gosh, it's been over a year or so now.
Yes,
Maybe
sir.
it's going on 2 years that you've been sponsoring Reshair Radio. And it's a pleasure to have you. We know that you actually work all across the country and are here in the studio with us this morning. So we've got all kinds of topics that we're gonna kind of touch around, but I'd like to sort of introduce you and the company, what you do. Why don't you give our listeners a flavor for what's that all about?
I understand. My name is Adam Kunda. I work with National Credit Care. We are a credit restoration firm. I use the word restoration because I think most firms just focus on repair, which is just talking about negative credit. There's a big part of our program is making sure that the client understands the positive elements of the credit score and what we can do to boost those up, to shape and mold and maintain a better credit score, because really only 35% of the score is negative information, or up to 35% of the score. Even this weekend, conversations with a lot of friends are saying, hey, I don't really know the positive credit. I just want to get these collections paid off to get my credit score up. So, we're a full service program. We're trying to help alleviate maybe some of those negative items. Some of them may be mistakes on credit reports. There's actually an alarming number stating that 80% of credit reports have errors on them.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me either. You look at these
80%.
reports all
I've
day
looked at
long.
credit reports all day long, and the customer, that's not mine, or that was my sister's, or my dad has the same name, and we see duplications, all kinds of stuff.
Juniors and seniors.
Seniors, yeah.
Information.
By the way, folks,
crossover.
don't name your kid after yourself with the exact same name. Can we say that on air? I think we can, right?
I think we can. It's a suggestion.
Just a suggestion.
It's a suggestion. But yeah, luckily my last name, Kunda. I don't have anything and never have had anything on my report that crosses over. Very rare last name, but if you do have a common last name, yep, you're going to have some stuff on
Common
your report
last
that's
names,
not
yeah,
yours.
Absolutely.
Yep. So yeah, that's what we're doing. We're taking clients, we're coaching them month in, month out, giving them a set of prescriptions, the playbook to get a better credit score. And I think
ESPN likes playbooks, by the way.
Yeah, we do,
They
right?
do.
So the thing that's important is, if you do want to talk about a playbook, everybody's starting from a different point in the field trying to get the touchdown. So, it does take some time to get there, but it is a specific route for every individual. Just because you're looking online at your credit score or your, prescriptions on how to fix a credit score doesn't mean it's right for you. So I always highly recommend getting a coach so that they can write up a playbook for you. And that's what we do, is help you understand what your credit score is, why it is where it is, and how we can get it to where you're trying to go. Because just looking at negative information, again, like most repair firms are going to do, are not always going to be the easy fix.
Well, so I have a quick question for you. So, if I'm a consumer, how do I know who to trust?
Sure. I think that's important. You got to look for licenses is important as well. Down in South Carolina, I'm a licensed as a credit counselor, just like you have a mortgage license here. So there's different states have different regulations. But yeah, I find, to be honest, most people out there are not trustworthy in this. They have figured out how that they can dispute your credit. It does cost you money to do so, and you could have done that for free. That's not what we do here. We're trying to give prescriptions to clients that are specific to them. So you need to ask questions. Hey, what are you doing to the credit? Are you looking at positive credit? Are you just disputing the negative trade lines? Because if that's the case, that's not the company you're looking to do business with.
Right. So let's just assume that one of our listeners has less than perfect credit.
Sure.
And, we asked that question, like, who do you trust? Well, where are the first resources they should go to even ask the question?
I think FICO.com is a good place to start to just understand credit scoring. There is a list of people who are trusted in the credit repair industry, but even looking at this list and doing this for 7 years, I have found a lot of these companies that are labeled as trustworthy typically aren't doing the job. I find them at maybe 6 to 8% of the clients are actually getting returned from most credit repair firms into the lending process. That's not strong numbers. I'm getting about 40 to 50% return. That is based off of the person I'm working with's capabilities. Are they listening to what I'm saying? Are they doing what I'm saying? And I find that anybody that's listening executes it. They're standing in the end zone.
They're
with
motivated.
The ball. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I appreciate the analogy there, because it's amazing how, and I go back to sort of how your credit affects who you are, right? And your credit self-esteem. That's probably a self-coined term, folks, but it works. But hear me out. For someone that's got less than perfect credit, I've seen where they come to me and say, I'd like to buy a house. Usually they have a house in mind, right? They somehow got in front of a house or found something on Zillow and they get all excited, but they kind of know deep down that my credit's not that good, right? And then they reach out, we start the qualification, and then I affirm their fear, and that is, you aren't ready. One of the things that my team prides ourselves on is really just as quickly as possible trying to get that customer on a path to home ownership, and that's by sending the information to you and your team, Adam, with their permission, saying, hey, look, don't give up hope just yet.
Sure.
Hang in there. Talk to these folks over at National Credit Care. Let them do a free evaluation. Even if you do nothing and you don't even do any of this credit restoration, as you had mentioned, utilizing your services over at National Credit Care, at least talk to them.
Absolutely.
And maybe get some ideas. But when you say we see about 40% of the people who actually get some results, it's because those 40% stayed with it. Said, I want to try this and I'm going to get through this. It's very easy to sort of get to that bad space, right? Absolutely. Where you're right back to where you were. I was like, yeah, I knew my credit wasn't good. And you shut down and say, I'll just run another year. And then, 12 months later, you're in the same position because you haven't done anything different.
Yep.
The behavior hasn't changed. So guess what? The result's not going to change either. So,
sure.
So really the message, in my opinion, for our show today is, yes, we want you to know who to trust, what the resources are, and maybe how you can connect with Adam.
Sure.
But the message is don't give up. Like, stay in the game. You got to push through if you want to win the game. And if you just hide behind what's going on, you're really not going to get into that home down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. I will stress if you are using Chris as a lender and he does turn you down, it's not like you can go to another lender and they're going to give you a different credit score.
There's
so
not a lot of differences from lenders.
That's the time to not go find somebody else thinking you're going to find a different result. It's the time to take some action. And I'm sure you're aware, a lot of false credit scores or just misleading credit scores are given to our consumers. Credit Karma is a place where you can go get a credit score, but that score does not correlate to what we're doing here in the mortgage industry. So, you might see a 700 score on paper, probably not what you're going to have in the mortgage industry. So I think that it is a very, very strong first decision to sit down with a mortgage lender, get the credit pulled, and just figure out a time frame, how long this is going to take. Typically, it's about a 6 to 9 month time frame to get you cleaned up, straightened out, and ready to go and back to Chris.
But that flies, right? So real quick, if you have any interest in giving Adam and I a call or a quick text message, my number is 704-277-4463. That's 704-277-4463. And I can run a free credit report for you, even if we know your score's not super high, and we can get you on a path to home ownership over at Adam's team and go from there. So Adam, why don't we talk about maybe some of the credit types, the kinds of pools that are out there, and just educate our listeners about that.
Yeah, great lead. And we just talked about Credit Karma. Credit Karma is a site that does generate a credit score. And my kind of phrase here is that all credit scores are credit scores, but only the credit scores we care about are the FICO credit scores. So there is a company out there called Fair Isaac Corporation. They do come up with the credit scoring models for the financial industries. So auto industry is going to give you a specific set of credit scores. Mortgage industry will be very different. It brings in different sets of weights and models when we're approving and denying for a home loan.
So that's why when a customer calls me and says, well, wait a second, when I ran my credit, it was a 702.
Correct.
And reality, when the mortgage lender runs it, we come in with a 668.
Correct.
And those are very different scores, especially if you're doing conventional financing.
Sure.
Can way impact the interest rate. And occasionally, I get this sort of wall of frustration from the client, like, well, what are you doing? Wait, that's not my score. You must have screwed something up.
Right.
In reality, the consumer doesn't always know that the Credit Karma model is different from what a mortgage lender is going to use.
Yeah,
And
the
you
FICO model.
How many, the FICO model, and you said there are how many different variations?
There's 55 FICO models
55.
that are in use today in the financial industry.
That's crazy.
Some of these are obsolete. I mean, FICO has been out since the 70s. So, 80s, 90s has some algorithms that were generating credit score. They've kind of built in a little bit of changes to those. But still, since 2005, we're still dealing with the same credit scoring models that we were. So, that's kind of where we're at today. No changes in the economy have been built in.
So what else do you want to share with our listeners? We got about 3 minutes here before we wrap up our show today.
Sure. I just want to stress getting credit is a good thing to just know where you're at and where to go get that. There's a website that FICO actually does run called myfico.com, and you can go get a report and score there. And again, we're talking about FICO scores and the differences in between them, right?
And that's MYFICO.
Correct. MYFICO.com. But what FICO score are you getting there? Again, there's very different industries in credit scoring. So just because your myfico.com credit score says a specific number, it might be very different than what you go get when you're actually applying for those funds. Chris, you're using a different mortgage algorithm, I promise, than myfico.com is using. So
expect a range. It could be a little higher, could be a little lower, but you need to understand it may vary.
Correct. But there's still going to be almost a little bit of misleading information like Credit Karma is going to give you. But, it is a FICO-run website, so please just don't be misled in the differences between FICO scores and the FICO scores you're getting from a mortgage lender or a credit card company or an auto lender. These are all very different weights and models for that industry.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, definitely. If you want to get in touch with me, if you have any questions as well, you are more than welcome to call or text me as well. 720-556-1959. I'll get you to my cell phone. If you do need to email me, if that's best for you, adam@nationalcreditcare.com.
And give them your phone number one more time, a little slower, so we can get that in.
Awesome. 720-556-1959.
Perfect. So that's the way you can get a hold of Adam. You can tell just by our conversation here, Adam's got a lot of depth and knowledge of the credit industry. And we're going to call him the credit genius. I'm technically the mortgage genius,
you are.
the mortgagegenius.com, but we got to get you that domain, Adam. I don't know if that's available. You have to check to see.
Yeah.
But
yeah, just to kind of close here on this segment, it is important to just find somebody to trust. Call me, ask questions. I can build trust with you. If you have been, misled or done wrong by another company, don't give up. This is a very easy process. I've helped hundreds of people get into homes. You can be one of those as well.
Absolutely. So just so that you know, if you need my services as a loan officer, you're looking to buy a home in North or South Carolina, I'm even licensed in many other states, but assume our listeners are in this area. My number is 704-277-4463. That's 704-277-4463. You can do an application online at themortgagegenius.com. That's 3 words, themortgagegenius.com. It's quick and simple. And just finally, if there's anything in the show that you have were intrigued by, really, and you want to check us out again, simple as my name, reshairradio.com, and it's RESH, like the first half of my last name, and then the word air, and then the word radio.com. So you can listen to any show in its entirety back at reshairradio.com. So as always, Adam, it's been a pleasure having you on our show once again, and appreciate your sponsorship and support of the show over this several years here. And look forward to having you on future shows. And our listeners, as always, thank you for listening to Reshair Radio. We'll be back next Sunday at 10 a.m. Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, Chris, so much.
Did you know it has been reported that an estimated 80% of Americans have credit inaccuracies on their credit reports? Most people that have either inaccuracies or existing items that can be negotiated or adjusted do not know what their best score could be until they have found a new home, or buying a new car, or applying for a credit card. Then it's too late, and they have to accept a higher interest rate or lose the opportunity altogether. The time to work on improving your credit score is before you need it. Whether you have a 440, 640, or even a 740 FICO score, there is always room for improvement. The National Credit Care Team is comprised of individuals dedicated to helping the millions of consumers plagued by credit inaccuracies, errors, and fraud. It is our mission to help inform consumers and alleviate the stress of working with creditors and credit bureaus. Together, we can maximize your scores to get the best interest rates possible and save you money. Call now, 303-747-6390. That's 303-747-6390. Or visit us at www.nationalcreditcare.com. You've been listening to Reshair with Chris Reshatar, a seasoned licensed mortgage consultant, originator license number 117266. Learn more online at themortgagegenius.com.